My decade project is on the films of the 1990s. My broader research question is, to what extent did improvements in computer technology in the 1990s improve the viewer experience in movies? My first supporting research question is, how did animation play a huge role in the 1990s? My second research question is, how did special effects lead to successful blockbusters? Let's start with the political times of the 1990s and how they showed up in the movies. December 1991, the breakup of the Soviet Union happens. 14 new countries and Russia were formed. With the Cold War ending, the United States can now focus on restoring its own economy, which was in a recession. The end of the Cold War has an impact on the movie industry as well. For instance, The Hunt for Red October in 1990, with Sean Connery as a Soviet submarine commander, shows Russians as less of a threat. Here, Sean is viewed as an intelligent person wanting to defect. Next, the economic aspects of the 1990s made movies more of an escape. We had high unemployment in the early 90s, as well as high inflation. Through all of this, more funny movies came out, starring comics instead of traditional actors like Robin Williams, Adam Sandler, and Will Smith. Indeed, America needed some humor to get through the first part of the 1990s because the economy was so bad. The economy did improve throughout the decade. By the mid to late 90s, the economy had surged due to higher productivity, and we had the spirit of small business and entrepreneurialism. The movies, as a result, demonstrated optimism and innovation in the mid to late 90s with more comedy and animation. Innovation in the movies of the 1990s came as a result of special effects and computer technology. We had Mac computers and a lot more software. We had the internet, and importantly, a California-based technology hub near Hollywood, as well as a stay-at-home movie experience. What then did the movie industry do with all this technology? We used a blue screen and 3D digital technology, and George Lucas had an industrial light and magic company that helped move American movies and special effects. Here's a clip from Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace, which talks about the new special effects and how they were made.
The secret to film is that it's an illusion, and it's an illusion that's created at 24 frames a second. You have the illusion of movement, you have the illusion of space and time, and ILM is concerned with creating that illusion.
It's funny, the images that you see on the screen are nothing like what it is to actually do it. You know, there often can be oh, wow, that looks really neat. But what it's involved is, maybe 40, 50, 60 people working on that thing for weeks and weeks. And then you just think, boy, that's a neat explosion. But what it's taken to get that has been a lot of different talents from a lot of different people.
On Episode 1, we basically had more freedom than George ever had on the original Star Wars film. And that's really due to digital technology. Up till now, everybody's been constrained by the compromises you have to make because you virtually couldn't build something so big, or you couldn't have such an epic landscape to tell your story in.
That was the fun part of writing this project, is that I wasn't limited. Whatever my imagination could come up with, I just put down on the page, and I said, we'll worry about this later.
Unfortunately, The Phantom Menace was popular with the public, but not with the critics. Critics saw the main failure of The Phantom Menace as special effects overpowering character development and interesting storylines. Animation really took off in the 90s, pushing cartoon short films to longer feature films, reaching a larger audience. Pixar developed a software called Renderman, which helped with lighting and motion effects. Then, Pixar created another software called Simulation, which made the hand-animated motion more of a computer motion, and fur and hair became lifelike. Did you know that Toy Story's movie used 117 computers working 24 hours a day and developed 114,240 frames of cartoons in their movie? This clip details the behind the scenes of the making of Toy Story as an animated film and how the new technology helped them with their movie making.
One of the things that makes Toy Story so unique is the collaboration between traditionally trained artists and animators and these amazing computer geniuses. In computer animation, you get nothing for free. Every object you see on the screen has to be created from scratch. You start with blueprints. We call them model packs. And then that's given to a modeler, and they create the model within the computer.
My ship!
And that's how we created the box that Buzz Lightyear came in.
Blast. This will take weeks to repair. For organic shapes like Buzz's face, we get them in the computer a different way. I'm entering some data from the surface of this clay model. We would accurately capture the shape of it by sampling points on the surface with this digitizer moment.
The table lists popular movies versus the Oscars for Best Picture in the 1990s. You'll notice that there was only a 25% match rate. So we had the Titanic being the highest in US sales in dollars and also being the 1997 Best Picture winner. Forrest Gump, number 4 in sales of the 1990s, with $329 million, was Best Picture in 1994. Titanic, a glamorous love story with a sinking ship, was loved by both the critics and public. Everyone loved the special effects. They also used animation and they made it seem like you were on the ship. Technology can now remake history. Specifically, you had digital sound, editing, photography, and special effects being changed dramatically. A good example of this digital editing was in the movie Forrest Gump, where we have Forrest as an All-American football player going to a White House ceremony and being inserted in with President Kennedy and even shaking his hand.
Me on a thing called the All-America Team, where you get to meet the President of the United States.
President Kennedy met with the Collegiate All-American football team at the Oval Office today.
As a society of the 1990s, we were changing too. I asked my mother what she remembered about living in the 1990s and how it affected her moviegoing. This is what she recalls.
In 1997, and we were looking for family-oriented movies. As a result, animated films really took off, and entire families went to movies. Little kids, which didn't happen before. And then later on, we bought VHS and DVDs at Blockbuster Video Store to watch at home many times over. These collections of tapes and DVDs surged as we loved and our children loved Lion King, Toy Story, Aladdin. All the animation was phenomenal, as well as the songs and music in those animation.
The 1990s ended on a good note, and Douglas Copeland summed it up best. The 1990s were a darn good decade. He explained why it was good. At the very least, in North America and Europe, the 1990s possessed a sense of happiness that seems long vanished. Money still generated money. Computers were becoming fast, easy, and cheap, and with them came a sense of equality for everyone. Things were getting better everywhere. History was over, and it felt great. The next 3 slides show my works cited references used to answer my broader research question. To what extent did improvements in computer technology in the 1990s improve the viewer experience in movies? Here's what they are. All right, thank you so much.